Oi oi, hi everyone, I'm Will from Will's Electrical Services, also known as the Midfield General. In tonight's episode, what I want to do is I want to show you how we do access holes. What this is mainly looking at is cutting holes in the ceiling for maybe doing adding extra lights like down lights and stuff like that, or just wiring some Cat 6, any form of access, like, because what we're probably looking at is either if it's chipboard flooring above, or it's got laminate, or they don't want the carpet, you know, there's a few people who just have the carpets fitted, you know, because I find, and also a lot of the builders who I do a lot of work for, actually prefer us to cut the ceiling than lift the floors, because it's easily repaired. Even if you're bang average like I am at filling and all that, you can make it look spotless, you know, quite easily. What I'm going to do is I'll show you a couple of ways that you can do it. Obviously, the way we usually do it is always we always have, I buy these in tubes. They're quite expensive, to be fair, the blade for this. You usually get it off Amazon for about 20-30 quid, and it's the same in the wholesaler. This is a 5-inch, just a 5-inch hole saw with a normal Starrett cut. Obviously got the little copper ring so it doesn't get tight. I don't know if you've seen that in one of my very early videos. It's just that all you got to do is get a bit of 2.5 singles, well, not singles because it'd be stranded, but if you get a bit of 2.5 twin and earth, you can usually wrap it just around the bottom of the thread in between the arbor and the blade. It never gets tight. It is unbelievable, and that's generally what we usually do. And this works really well because obviously with the 5-inch it fits in the date. I don't know if you've seen the date. If you ain't seen the date, you must be living under a rock. But basically what that is a shroud, and it stops you from getting covered when you're drilling holes. It's really good, it works really well, but also it's the same as everything. It leads you on to other problems, you know, because for some reason, this is obviously a dirty one. I've got a brand new one in there, but I wanted to show you the one we actually use. Is that sometimes when you're drilling a hole, it kind of burns the dust onto the ceiling, so you have to wipe it down, and it's a bit of a bind, but it's okay, it works well. But half the time, if they're doing that, they've got to, you know, you've got to decorate afterwards anyway. But yeah, and what we usually tend to find with this, if you do a hole that size, you can usually cut. You can usually then get an extension bit, and if you cut between the joists, you can usually aim between the hole and get in there and cut between the joists. It works absolutely really well. And usually what you tend to find is if you're doing extra downlights, you take the pendant down, and then you can usually wire the rod over to see which way the joist, and you can usually do that. There is various other things like this thing I've got behind me, the stud buddy. That's pretty good for finding that. What that does is that you get the you find the screws on the plasterboard. You know, I've had it. I'm not really that keen on it. I've had it fail. You know, not really worked so well with me. But you know, a lot of other people use that. But obviously, for when you're drilling that hole, you obviously don't want to use the impact. You obviously just want to use combi drill, because obviously you want to keep the slug or the bullet or whatever you want to, you know, to put back in it. We usually repair that with a bit of bat and a bit of screws. I will show you on a later date. I'll probably do an episode or something about downlights, and I'll show you how to repair that. I'm not really prepared. We finished early today, so I thought I'd come back and do a little video and all that. But that's how we generally do it, you know, because the other ways is what we used to do before we had them bits, is that we used to use the pad saws and all that. And what we've got, I've got a few here to show you. I've got these ones. I always used to have these ones, the fixed blades. This is a shark one, and this has got 3 blades. This is absolutely awesome. If we're doing loads of like work where we need the pad saw, which is quite rare these days because I don't really use dry lining boxes. I'm dead against them. I don't like the fact that when you second fix them, there's a little bit of movement, and I think it gives a lot of people in the new builds the false impressions at the walls, because if you feel it, there's a little like 1 or 2 mil movement, and I'm not a fan of that. But what we usually have, this is Ollie's one, this is the Fat Max, this is one of my old ones, and what I use is the Klein one. And I love the bending blades because it's just so much sharp, you know, so much safer. Even though it's all rusted up, it's still sharp as anything. It's pretty good, but I've got to be honest, the only time I really use pad saws now is if I'm drawing a circle on the ceiling like we had the other week, where we've got odd circles which you know, we haven't got the whole sort of sides for, which is pretty rare. It's mainly going to be speakers, but I'll quickly show you how to do a circle on a bit of paper if you haven't got a compass or anything like that, because, you know, let's have it right, most places we don't these days anyway. But what you do is, if you want to measure, obviously if you want to measure the size of the hole, you've got to get a bradawl. I've got a plasterboard punch here as well, which is pretty good. Is if you want to like measure it, I'm just going to do it random, but say that was 4 centimetres, so you want it in an 8-metre hole, just pad it, just go halfway through, come round, and every single time it's been perfect. And that's where a pad saw comes in well, because usually if we're doing long bits on plasterboard, you know, like boxes, which we don't really do anymore, but we'd use the multi-tool. But if you're doing circles, then obviously you can't, else I can't do it without getting a blade. It just looks crap, so I'd just rather do it with plasterboard. But if I'm cutting out large squares and anything like that, then obviously I'll just use a something like this, you know, which I see Jordan had on his arts now, and they're quite good. They are. I thought I'd give them a try. I thought they were pretty good for sharp edge, you know, straight edges. You know, if you're doing any paxilling or any bottoms of the balls, slotting them out, it's pretty good for that. Then really, I think it's only about tenner, like less than a tenner. And also, what we use if we're making any holes in the ceiling, what I tend to do is either you can use the punch, or what we usually do is get a 3mm drill bit. A 3mm drill bit, and what we do is we just pilot it and see the holes. Just do it roughly the same size to that hole, you know, and you can feel, because there shouldn't be any pipes there, because that's out their zones, because at worst they notch the top of the joist, you know, and if they're doing it at the bottom, what can you do? There's not a lot really you can do about that, is there really? But yeah, I think that's covered most of it. But yeah, that's kind of how we do the access. With these access holes, what we usually do is just bung up a laser, throw it down, do it evenly. One of the other main tips what you've got to remember is, if you do this and you cut them out, just mark the hole. Just do it like 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to whatever. Just make sure you do it, because sometimes if you're unfortunate, you've got an older ceiling and all that, some of the size of the pellets and all that are different sizes, or even if you've got, you know, what do they call it, Artex on the ceiling and all that. Obviously this video I'm not covering anything to do with asbestos. Obviously I'm talking to you as, you know, it's tested and you know it's fine, yeah, so we're not going to cover that. But yeah, that's the general idea, and that's the way I do it, because if you get the one stripe filler, it usually comes out perfect. You just need a little bit of paint and it comes out perfect every time. And you know, it's our fail safe, and we've used it for so long now, because you see people like just doing access holes for the cables. If you do it with that, it looks so much neater. I will flash up some pictures, you know, we do it all the time. It's our go-to by far. And another good way is, if you've got this hole, and I didn't really show it properly on the other video, but if you've got this angle, if you've got one of these angle bits and all that, this magnet on this rear extension bar is unbelievable. But yeah, if you've got this extension bar and you cut a hole about like next to the ceiling, next to the wall where you want to cut, you can easily get inside the wall. So you go through the top plate and all that, you know, if you've got the metal, or even at the bottom. I tend not to use this on the chipboard flooring. I have got one of them cavity master things for the chipboard flooring, but I absolutely hate them. I can't see how you put them metal plates in. I wouldn't want it in my house, so I generally do everything to how I'd want it in my house. So if I wanted to have it in my house, I wouldn't do it on site. That's the way we do it. But yeah, that's just a little insight of how we do access holes. I hope you get a little bit something out of it or anything like that. Right, anyway, I'll bring this to an end. If you're going to be anything, then be magic. Up the old blues. Oi, oi, oi.